Welcome to the Chiro Business Mojo Podcast, where we deconstruct the methods, marketing, and mindset of successful business people and chiropractors from around the world. And now your host, Dr. Richard Day.
Yes, that guy speaks the truth. I am Dr. Richard Day, and this is the Chiro Business Mojo Podcast. Hey, how are you guys doing out there in chiropractic land? I want to take a second and just thank you all once again for checking this podcast out. We continue to grow. Our audience continues to grow. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to bring you guys great guests, I think, who have so much valuable information to share with everybody out there. So I thank you and appreciate each and every one of you. And today I've got on the show someone, a really cool guest. We actually recorded this interview a few weeks ago. And since that time, a lot of great things have happened for him in his life. So that won't be talked about in the podcast and the interview per se, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about him right now. And he has become the president of ChiroSushi. And if you have not checked out ChiroSushi, I encourage you to go to ChiroSushi.com right now and see what it's all about. But the guest is Dr. Ryan Bones. He shared with us a lot of valuable information. He's only been in practice like a year, maybe a little bit less, but he has just blown it up. He has done some incredible things. So here's a little bit about him. He's originally from South Dakota, and he graduated from the University of Nebraska with a degree in biological sciences before receiving his Doctorate of Chiropractic from Parker University in Dallas, Texas. He specializes in neurology-based chiropractic corrective care from pregnant moms and newborns to teens and adults. His biggest calling in life is spreading the message of true health, and he recently gave a TED Talk at Southern Methodist University entitled Dr. You, Understanding Your Very Own Superpower. And yes, you heard that right. His name is Dr. Ryan Bones. How can I compete with this? I think the only person that has him beat is maybe if there's a Dr. Atlas out there somewhere. But I digress. And like I said, since his interview was recorded, he became the president of ChiroSushi, and he'll be a featured speaker at the ChiroSushi Summit May 3rd through 7th in Las Vegas, Nevada. It has a great lineup scheduled, including entrepreneur extraordinaire Grant Cardone, Dr. Jeff Langmaid from the Evidence-Based Chiropractor, and Dr. Bo Pierce from Circle of Docs. There's many, many more as well. A lot of other names that you would recognize if you're a regular listener of this show, or if you're just paying attention to who the thought leaders are in our profession. And students, if you're listening out there, ChiroSushi is offering an incredible deal. Free admission when you use the promo code SUSHISTUDENT, all one word, no spaces, SUSHISTUDENT, when you check out. So check it out. See what's going on at ChiroSushiSummit.com. You can find out more there. But now let's go ahead and welcome Dr. Ryan Bones.
Hey, Dr. Day. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, thanks so much for being on. I'm excited that you are here and really looking forward to our interview today. Before we get too far, though, I invite you to jump in and fill in any of the gaps in that bio I may have missed.
I think you got it.
Awesome, man. Well, first off, right out of the gate, I've got to tell you, I'm very jealous of this last name that you have. The only other thing that came close is in where my office is in Colorado, there is a Dr. Spine, and he's a DO. But Dr. Bones is right up there with the best of them, man.
It seems like it was meant to be, and I tell you what, it's extremely marketable and very memorable, so I'm very glad to have it.
Well, that's great. I love that. And I want to talk a little bit about, being a chiropractor is usually, I've heard it said that chiropractor chooses us, not the other way around. But I want to really get into your story and your why. Why did you become a chiropractor?
An excellent story. And most people assume it is because of my name. Oh, did you want to be a chiropractor? Did you always know you were going to be a chiropractor because of your name? And no, truth be told, I come from a very long line of humble family farmers from South Dakota. My dad's fourth generation. He works on our family farm with his brothers and brother-in-laws and each one of their kids. And so I grew up on the farm working cattle on a ranch. And I just found very early on that I love people. I get my energy from people. And so sitting in a tractor cab just killed me. It wasn't for me at all. I actually got first introduced to chiropractic when I was in probably, I guess, third or fourth grade. Basketball has always been a big part of my life, and I took a charge when I was playing Little League basketball. Hurt my SI joints so bad I could barely even walk. Luckily, my town of about 1,000 people in rural South Dakota had an amazing chiropractor, Dr. Shequin, shout out, Palmer grad, old school Palmer grad. And he got me fixed right up, and I started going very regularly to stay fixed up and stay tuned up. I just felt great after I got adjusted. And so, here I am in now 5th, 6th grade. I've always been the kid that was 5 years ahead of his time. So in 6th grade, I was already trying to plan what I wanted to be, because I was always looking forward. Where am I needing to go? What do I need to do? And I knew that I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to help people. And so when I started looking into different types of doctors, I was, really turned off by a lot of the traditional medical doctors, just what they told me about their day-to-day experiences and how they felt about their jobs. And when I went back to get adjusted from Dr. Shequin, I asked him about being a chiropractor, and he couldn't have expressed it any more positively and enthusiastically how much he loved what he did. Getting to have his own office, be his own boss, set his own hours. He never missed his little kids' t-ball games. He got to help people not by giving them a prescription or cutting something out, but by just allowing their body to work the way it's supposed to work. And I thought that was amazing. And to just see this enthusiasm for something, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And at about 12 years old, I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor. This is what I was going to do. And so I started looking into it more and more, and shadowed different offices and saw different styles and talked to different doctors about schools. And so going through high school, I was Bones. Oh, he's the guy who's going to be a chiropractor. And so I went to University of Nebraska, got my doctorate, and it was while I was in school there that I actually had the opportunity to work as an office manager for Dr. Pete Wavers, Lincoln Chiropractic Center, shout out. And he gave me my first opportunity. He is the one that set me on my path towards owning a practice, towards being subluxation based, to being neurologically based, to using insight, patient care. So much I learned from him in my about 3 years as his office manager. It was just him and I in this practice, and I got to see the miracles firsthand for myself for the first time. I got to see the people that came in because they couldn't become pregnant, and 3 months later they were pregnant. Or, maybe it's years of asthma, or, maybe it's just a really hot low back, whatever it was. So many different things. Seeing that for 3 years completely affirmed that is what I was going to do with my life, and really ignited my passion. And so when I got to chiropractic school, I was on fire, and I couldn't believe, the kids that had never been adjusted or were in chiropractic school because they, saw it at a job fair and just decided to go for it like 2 months ago. And so it set me on my path. So amazing people in the right time of my lives is what really got me on this track. And chiropractic school was no different. When I got to school, surrounding myself with amazing students who were like-minded and amazing professors. Dr. Ron Wells at Parker, always told me that chiropractic works as a chiropractor. And so I made it a mission to just become the best possible chiropractor I could be. And took that really seriously. And then I had the fortunate meeting of Dr. Michael Viscarelli and Dr. Jeremy Hess of the AMP program. And we started a club on campus there. And they're who, I guess, really introduced me in the how to start a practice. Luckily, working with Dr. Wavers, I got to see how to run a practice. But it was really the AMP docs that made it possible for me to open my own. And I knew from the time I was 12 that I wanted to have my own practice. And I wanted to change lives, not just from a back pain or neck pain standpoint, but from the chronic conditions that people struggle their entire life with and don't have an answer for. That's my favorite. I love the people that have been everywhere, told that it's in their head or that nothing's wrong. Been to maybe other chiros, other PTs, anything, and can't get help. That is my biggest passion within chiropractic, and being able to help them my way in my own office with my name on the front, that day in and day out is an absolute dream come true.
Well, it's truly such a special thing that we do. It really can't compare to a lot of other things. And every day that I go out and treat, I feel absolutely honored and privileged to be part of something that is so meaningful and so rewarding, both not just to me, but to our patients and what we can do to help them and, just through our hands. So I think that a lot of our listeners can relate to exactly what you are talking about. I think you are particularly blessed in that you recognize so early what it is that you wanted to do and really set your life on that path, because things like shadowing other chiropractors and really getting that experience early on, I have to tell you, I don't know what percentage of students actually do that, but I would say it's relatively small. And to participate in everything from, just the interaction with the people alone to looking at the insurance side of things, or just the money collection side of things if it's an all cash based. But not to mention, there's so many aspects, but getting comfortable putting yourself out there yes, is a huge thing that a lot of people, I'm surprised, but I'll meet people 22, 23, 24 years old, and they have yet to do that.
Absolutely, and that's a huge hurdle. Doesn't matter what you're going to do when you graduate from school, whether it be open your own practice or associate or anything. By definition, unless if you want to work on animals, that's excellent. But if you're going to be working with people, you got to work with people. And so being able to interact and be confident. And the difference, I think, between chiropractic and maybe an MD or something is that people are going to have to drive by 3 or 4 other offices to get to yours. And so what's going to be that difference? What do you bring? What connection can you make with them? How are you going to reach them to bring them into your office? And that's difficult for a lot of you. It's difficult for me initially to put yourself out there and to go out into the community and speak about chiropractic clearly and confidently, and deliver that message about who we are and what we do in a way that is going to bring people to you and give them the opportunity to get better.
Well, let's really drill down on your specific office, your practice. How long have you been open?
Let's see. I think we just wrapped up month 8. We opened in April 4th of last year, so 2016. So it's been in a wild ride the last year.
Well, where are you located? Where'd you open up?
We're in beautiful Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which most people have no idea where that is, but we are way up in the very northern tip of Idaho. One of the most beautiful places you could probably ever imagine. A lot of times when people hear Idaho, they don't think that, but I promise you, Google it. We're on a gorgeous lake up in the mountains and the trees, surrounded by ski hills.
Now, how'd you choose that particular town? Were you from there? 'Cause it's a pretty small town, right?
Coeur d'Alene itself is about 45,000, but the surrounding area makes it about 100,000. I am not. I'm from rural South Dakota, so I'm from the middle of nowhere. But I have always loved mountains and lakes and trees and snowboarding and wakeboarding. And so when it was about October of 2015, so about 2 months before I graduated, I did not know where I was going to open. Things had changed. My mind had changed. I was getting off a plane from West Palm Beach, deciding that I did not want to practice there. And I had 2 months. I needed to pick somewhere. So I was scrolling around on Apple Maps, just looking in the Northwest for a lake with a town by it. And I stumbled across Coeur d'Alene. I didn't know how to pronounce it, but I zoomed in and it had everything I wanted. And so then I Googled pictures and just was blown away. I flew up here 2 weeks later by myself, spent 5 days driving around. The people, the town, everything was amazing. Decided on day 5 that this is where I was going to be. Came back a month later, signed my bank loan and business lease, an apartment lease, and then graduated December 12th, 12 days later, and moved up here December 23rd of last year.
Wow, now I've got a million questions related to just that process, and I know we don't have all the time in the world, so I'm going to try to pare it down, but I want to start with this. How has business been in the 8 or so months that you have opened?
Incredible. It has been absolutely incredible, and I know that is – I'm very blessed to say that because that's not always the case, and it's certainly not the stereotype of opening your own office right out of school. most people think there's a starvation period and you're really going to struggle and it takes a long time to establish yourself. And I'm going to tell you, I'm proof that that's not true. It really determines on how much time and effort you put in before you open and how much you get at yourself out into the community, because our grand opening, on March 31st, we had about 250 people come through our grand opening. And then on April 4th, when we opened, we had 105 pre-booked, prepaid evals for the next 2.5 weeks solid.
Wow, that's so impressive. I just want to summarize for Mojo Nation. Guy graduates from chiropractic school. Guy goes to a town where he doesn't know a soul, opens up, and the guy kills it in 8 months of practice. I mean, that is inspiring, and I think it's a lesson for so many people who either have just graduated or in school right now and not sure what they want to do. This is a man with a plan, and it started before he graduated. So if you're in school right now and you're listening and you are not sure, man, if you can grab onto one thing, that's what I would get, at least so far where we're at in this interview, and we're just getting started.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you a couple of things. It sounds like your mindset, you knew early on what you wanted to do. You were doing all the right things. Startup capital is an obstacle. We might have all the grandest plans in the world, but if we cannot get our tenant finish done and get the people and the equipment we need in there, that presents a problem. So how were you able to do this?
A lot of different things happened to come together seemingly remarkably, but the biggest thing was, like you said, so let's start with financing. I guess, where do we start? First, having had so much time to prepare, I guess, through school, knowing I was going to open, all of the above, I spent a long time on my business plan, gathering different data. It ended up being about a 50-page business plan with about 15 to 20 pages of financial projections, spreadsheets, based on similar offices and their philosophies, what their collections were. Every single item that I was going to need to buy, I had already found where I was going to buy it, what the price was going to be, if there were sales or anything I could use, how much that was going to be, down to like about the last cent. I knew when I was going to get it. I had a plan of exactly how I was going to market myself in the town, exactly what I was going to do. I had that in my plan, and it was just incredibly a solid plan, business plan. And so when I took that to some banks here in town, the response was very positive. They said, listen, we don't ever have anyone come in this prepared with this amount of data. That's not just made up. You're basing this off of other offices who went in similar situations. If you do what you say you're going to do in this plan, we're not worried about financing you. And so, just to shore it up, I luckily had my father also as somebody willing to co-sign next to my name, which was I'm incredibly grateful for him for that, to put the farm, I guess, if you will, on the line. And so together, the two of us got to go to a local bank. I wanted to work local and small, and it just so happened that the space that I was going to be moving into was a former bank, actually, and it happened to be a rival bank of the bank that I went into to get my financing loan. And so they were more than happy to get that sign down off the side of that building. So everything kind of seemed to come together. We got what we asked for because we knew what we needed to ask for, and we had a local bank who believed in us and loved what we wanted to do for the town, who stood behind that.
So you got your loan from the first bank you talked to, is that correct?
I talked to 3 banks. I got good vibes from 2 of them, but I got overwhelmingly very encouraging, like just very welcoming, very warm vibes from a 3rd. And so when I went back to the 3rd to meet with them, they said yes, and we went for it. And so I know how rare that is, because I have talked to so many chiros who have gone to so many different banks. But I know that eventually you will find the right combo, the right people with the right motivation, to get it done for you as well, for anybody as well.
Well, what were your biggest fears when you opened up?
That would take some narrowing down because it is terrifying. It is exciting and stressful and thrilling, but terrifying. I would say my biggest fear is that I wasn't going to live up to my own expectations. I set a lot of expectations on myself, and based on kind of leaving the farm and coming somewhere new, writing my own legacy, I knew I was going to have a lot of people following me on social media, and that pressure, that external pressure to succeed, I guess failing grandly with all that spotlight, that was definitely my biggest fear. But I think deeper than that, it was the fear that for whatever reason I wasn't going to be able to make this happen. I wasn't going to be able to help anybody with chiropractic because I knew I could. I had student clinic, but I wanted to bring that to Coeur d'Alene, and I was afraid if I didn't get the job done, I was never going to be able to open my doors and help anybody.
So give us real quick a nutshell version of what it's like to, if I was a practice member, if I came in for treatment, what are you going to do? What's your style of care? Do you do modalities? Do you take insurance? Is there massage? Just give us the brief overview.
Absolutely. So I think the first thing that's going to maybe surprise or shock a patient when they walk through our doors is, first of all, what our office looks like. I hate doctor's offices, and so I did not want mine to look like one at all, and it doesn't. It's all reclaimed wood, steel, glass. We have big leather recliner couches, a fireplace, TV mounted over that, playing Sports Center or Red Bull TV. I'll have 80s heavy metal playing or Disney Day, whatever, between me and my office manager, whatever we want to pick that day. I'm in jeans and, a t-shirt and boots. It's an extremely homey, casual, fun, loving sort of atmosphere, warm, really warm. And that's the atmosphere I wanted to create for people. I would say that our kind of motto of our office is healing, happiness, and love. Everyone here is family, and we're here to have a good time and get people better in the meantime. So that, when they first walk through the door, kind of, I think, really takes people aback because they're not used to that. They're always greeted by either myself or my office manager, Cassidy, who's also my incredible girlfriend, and she helps me out so much. Met with a handshake, introduced to the office. A lot of what we do is very digital. Our paperwork, most everyone does it online, or we have a touch screen that they check in on that they can do their paperwork on. They get a tour of the office, which, like I said, looks a lot differently. And then the first thing we do with everybody is we do CLA Insight with subluxation station scans. Mm-hmm. And so we use thermography, heart rate variability, and surface EMG to look at that function of the nervous system as best we can. After that, we'll take x-rays if needed, but we don't typically adjust on first day. We really like to put together more of a plan. We bring people back. We'll go over that plan together with them, talk about what we found, how we can expect to help them. And then I am a 100% Thompson doc. So I have pneumatic Thompson drop tables that I use to adjust everybody with. And we do straight chiropractic. So no modalities or supplements or anything or exercises or anything. We focus on the spine and the nervous system and helping the body heal itself. And we do so with, in my opinion, the best technique in the world, Thompson. I know a lot of people would argue that, but that's what I love. I fell in love with Thompson really early on in school and love getting adjusted that way and love adjusting people that way. And so that's a little bit different experience for a lot of people too when they think of typical chiropractic adjustment, I guess, if you will. And so there's definitely a good amount of education and time spent with patients to help them kind of understand what we do and why we do it that way. But what I've found is that taking that extra time with people helps me to develop amazingly deep relationships with them and get incredible results.
So are you cash-based? Do you take insurance?
We do. We work with all insurances. We aren't, I guess, if you would say 100% insurance from the sense of our care is typically just based on what I recommend, and then we'll use any and all benefits that we can for the patient if something's going to apply. A lot of our patients are cash or with deductibles these days, don't have a lot of insurance coverage anyways. So a lot of them do pay out of pocket, but we make sure we really build that value and have never seen an issue with that. I'd say we're probably 70% cash, 30% insurance.
Nice ratio, to be sure. That certainly makes things easier, because billing, as we all know, has its own challenges.
Oh, gosh.
Well,
that it does.
One of the things I really get a sense of when I look at your Facebook page is, not, in addition to you've got a beautiful office, to be sure, but there's a real sense of authenticity about you as a provider and as a person that really comes through in your Facebook page. I saw pictures of you on there dressed as Batman, adjusting, and Superman, and God, what else did I see? There was more.
There was a lot. There was I think it was maybe a bad decision in retrospect, but I did 2 weeks of costumes leading up to Halloween.
That's cool.
So I did 8 different costumes, and by the 8th one, I could not wait for that next Monday. It was extremely hot, that's for sure. But go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say all of this. I mean, it just comes off as a great sense of fun to be, if I wasn't getting treated there, I probably would just stop in, watch a little Sports Center and hang out because, it definitely gives off the vibe of the place to be. And I saw that their website, ChiroSushi, recognized you as having the best Facebook page of 2016. So, that's awesome, man. Congratulations, and tell us about that.
Well, thank you very much. Authenticity is definitely something that I from day one have always said I was going to do this my way. I may encounter a lot of bumps along the road and learning curve, maybe a little steeper because I wanted to do things my way. But like you said, that shines through not only on Facebook, but also to the patients as well. And that authenticity is actually one of the things that I get told patients love the most about this office. As far as ChiroSushi, I have to say it was actually just best Facebook page of fall 2016.
Oh, okay.
My good friend, Dr. Shane Kurth, actually got the best for spring of 2016. So I only got half the year, but that was actually – so social media in general is something I'm extremely passionate about. I love – I have so much fun with. I've really found myself utilizing it a lot as a tool in practice to not only educate people that come to my page about, who I am or what the office does, but to really connect with the community in ways that we've never been able to before through social media.
Yeah, that's key. I think that a lot of people miss that, at least initially. They'll get open, they get going, and here comes a post about back pain, and then here comes a post about, getting adjusted. Sitting is the new snow.
Sitting is bad, yeah.
Right.
I tell you what, and this was hard for me to swallow the first time I heard it. And it wasn't even in regards to chiropractic. I think it was in regards to printer sales. And somebody said, people don't give a shit about printers. And that's not what you're selling. That's not who you are. And so now I started, how can I apply that to chiropractic? And I realized that for the most part, unfortunately, most of the general public is not as interested in chiropractic as you and I are. Shocker, I know.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing, but I'm a huge nerd for it. The general public is not that interested in it until they really need it. But otherwise, they have their own lives. And so something I've made a point to do is, while it's really important to, obviously have chiropractic in there and have that as theme and sprinkle in principle and really hit on that, people don't connect with sitting is the new killer. People connect with you. People connect with who you are, with what you do, with why you do, what your passions are, who your relationships are. People want to see you're human. And so when I have my social media, I have a lot of people that follow, members from the community that follow. And when practice members come in, they'll be like, oh my gosh, hey, I saw you went snowboarding this weekend. That's awesome. I was up there too. Oh, that's so cool. We connect over that. Or I've had people, come in because they saw that I was at this charity event or that event or something. It's not just about the spine. It's about the person, and they connect with you as a person. And so I think that's the biggest mistake that offices make on their social media, is that myth that it has to be business and separate. Over here is personal. In reality, as a chiropractor especially, we are our office, and we eat and we sleep and we live chiropractic. People want to see our lives and who we are and how we kind of translate that principle into our lives, and that's what makes a good social media.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I don't know if you read Simon Sinek's highly influential book, Start With Why. But
love it. And the talk. There's a TED Talk, too.
Yeah, it's great. I can't get enough of what he says, and I love when he breaks down how Apple works compared to most other companies.
Love that one.
Most of them lead with, hey, here's a really fast processor and this much storage and everything like that, and we make really good computers, want to buy one. And the Apple message is, this is who we are, this is what we believe, this is what we're all about. We also happen to make great computers, want to buy one. And what you just explained to me is, this is who I am, this is what we're all about. Do you want to come in? I'm also a chiropractor.
Yes.
Do you want to get adjusted?
Oh, that's so true. And like I said, people buy you. They can go to 50 other offices and get adjusted, or get X-rays or get scanned, whatever it is. They come to you because they connect with you. And so when you can make that available to more people for them to see, you'll connect to more people, with the caveat that if you're going to talk the talk, you need to walk the walk. You can't have an incongruent life, or reflect one persona in the office and be another in private. It would be exhausting, and it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And so it really holds you accountable to be who you are and to be authentic online and in the office.
Yeah, people know. I think it's pretty amazing. I recently saw the new Star Wars Rogue One that I loved, and there's a CGI character or two that's been recreated from the old show, and it's almost right, but we are so good at humans to spot when something's just slightly off. We know when it is inauthentic, and it's exactly the same. If we are in there pretending to be something we're not, relating to people in a way that's not authentic, people know. It's not the same as if you just are being yourself. So I love how you are bringing who you are as a person to what you do as a person.
No, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And the people appreciate it too.
Well, a couple of things, and then I want to move on to the rest of the interview, because I know we don't have all night. But one of the things you talk on is what new docs can do to make themselves the talk of the town. And certainly based on your success in the short time you have been open, you have done a very good job of making yourself the talk of the town. So what are some of the pointers that you have for the next set of chiropractors who are getting ready to go into practice?
Okay, that is a broad one. I will try to hone it in, I guess. The biggest thing that I can say is what you touched on earlier, and that is have a plan. Know what you want to do and how you want to do it as early as possible. If you can start preparing for your practice when you're a try one, when you're early in school, it's going to benefit and pay off huge later. If you're a try 10, that's fine. Start now. But that plan is the most important thing. What I think one of the biggest pitfalls is that students will graduate, go to a town, work on their office, get it open, get everything set, get everything perfect. Paper clips are aligned perfectly on the desk, and then they'll open the doors and wonder where everybody is. It's actually, if I have one thing, it's the opposite of that. You have to start in a town first. From the moment you get in a town, utterly immerse yourself in the town, into your community. I mean, be at everything. People knew me when I first moved here as that guy who's at everything. Because I was at I was in 4 chambers. I went to every chamber breakfast. I went to every after hours, every business open house, every charity event, every anything, knitting fairs, craft fairs. I had a booth. I had something. I was at everything. And by kind of immersing yourself into that community, you're going to start to meet people, and meeting people, making those connections, finding out the names of the people who maybe are a little more influential, going to meet them, asking them about the town, diving in. That's where you're going to start making connections, and it just exponentially grows from there. Meanwhile, back in the office, It's well worth having a contractor come in and doing the build out, having people, that's why we have a business loan. That's why we have startup capital. Have somebody do the work in the office, because your time is not most valuably spent swinging a hammer inside the walls. Your time is most valuably spent in the community. And so obviously you have a plan how you're going to do the office, and you oversee that, and it's going to take a lot of check-in, but it's not what you do inside of the office before you open that matters as much as what you do outside of the office. And so the best advice I have to anybody in school is to take any opportunity you can now to immerse yourself in your school's community, whether it be screening for an office or going to an event for an office or doing health talks or anything you can do to get comfortable putting yourself out there in front of people. It's going to be awkward at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And if you can be comfortable by the time you graduate and get to your new town, you'll be able to throw yourself in very confidently. And that is what's going to build the wave of momentum, or one of the many things going to build the wave of momentum going into your office. And spending time screening, spending time doing health talks, meeting people and making connections. That's the best possible thing you can do when you open.
So what's your advice for the experienced doc who's maybe been in practice a while but isn't really where they want to be? Would it be the same, or what would you tell that person?
Great question. And I think for the most part, if you're an experienced doc, if you maybe up until that point haven't really dove into the community, do as much as you can. It's a different scenario when you're in practice and you have the hours and you have responsibilities, you maybe have a family. Those all take hours. And so it's gonna limit how much you can do there. Immerse yourself in person as much as possible. But if that established doc hasn't maybe spent a lot of time on social media, that's actually probably the way I would go in combination with that. Because the wonderful thing about social media, and especially with Facebook now, with how you can target ads and target posts and things, you can reach your community in a very large way with very little time commitment on your end. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest struggles when you're in practice, is finding the time. I don't have time to get to these events. I don't have time to do this or do that. Social media is something that where if you spend a little bit of time, it can help exponentially in reaching your community and bringing in not only just people, but people that are drawn to you because of who and what your office is, which, as anybody that's in practice knows, there's a big difference between somebody that just walks in cold and somebody that walks in referred.
Right.
They're a different person. It's a different patient. And so if you can bring in quality people that are there for who you are and what you do, that would be huge. So as an established doc, that's probably where I'd start. There's a lot of great people out there right now that are trying to help chiropractors learn more about social media and how they can be more impactful with it. Chiro Unity is an amazing company. Dr. Shane Kurth, Dr. Devin Arman, what they're doing with teaching chiropractors kind of how to make great content, how to target audiences, how to set up pixels, how do you track where people are clicking on your posts, things like that. There's a lot more to social media than just posting pictures of your food. And I know that based on a lot of people's Instagrams, you wouldn't think that way. But there's a lot that goes into it. And a little bit of education on that can help people big time, especially if you don't have the time to immerse yourself in the community once you're in practice.
Great advice. I think that's stuff that, it's fairly new, but it's connecting us in ways that we didn't have before. And I don't think the true power of it is really had, that we haven't had the time to see what it can really do. But you're right. There are huge ways to connect that we've just never have. And it seems like there's more every day. And if you have not taken the time to educate yourself on those sorts of things, it's time. That might be how you're going to have your next breakthrough. If I can get the words out, it'd be great. Your next breakthrough in practice. And speaking of speaking, let's shift and talk now about your TED Talk. TED Talks are everywhere. I think that's become part of our vernacular. Great resources. We mentioned Simon Sinek early. How did you get to become part of TED Talks?
That is also another great story. So the first one, I've actually been blessed. I've done two. because I actually did one here in Coeur d'Alene recently that isn't even released yet. But the first one in Dallas was a great series of events that led me to be at a networking event. Again, it's funny how much it comes back to immersing yourself in the town. But I was trying to immerse myself going into clinic in Dallas at Park University. I was at networking events trying to, build my patients for student clinic there. And I started talking to a lady. I didn't know what she did. All she said was she worked for SMU. And she asked me what I did, and I talked about chiropractic. And anyone who's ever talked to me about chiropractic knows that I just don't shut up. I mean, I'll talk for an hour about it and how amazing it is. And after I talked to her for a little while, she said, well, I cannot believe how passionate you are about this and how little I actually knew about what chiropractic is or how the body works. And I was like, yeah, that's actually one of my big passions is telling the world about that. And she said, well, that's funny you should say that. I actually work for TEDx SMU, and we're looking for speakers, and I think you would be amazing. Which I was like, okay, sure. I'm all right. That would be great, but I don't think I'm to that point yet. The biggest audience I'd ever spoken in front of was maybe 100 people in Amped Club. But I said, hey, I'm not going to miss out on an opportunity. I'll apply. So a few months go by, and she reaches out to me, and she says, hey, applications are out. I still really want you to apply. I still think you'd be great. All right. So I wrote up my talk I wanted to talk about innate intelligence and how it obviously not only moves our body through the world, but protects us from it as well. And then had this whole outline and made a video, submitted it. And she came back and she said, we love it. You're in. I was floored. I never thought I would be able to do that. And then the reality came in of, oh my God, I have to do this now. Like there's no turning back. Oh my God. And so, she said, we have two options. You can speak for the TEDx adults, or we also are doing TEDx kids the day before. It's still going to be about 1,000 people, which is terrifying, but 1,000 people. But it would be about 70% kids. Ages, from about 3rd grade to 8th grade, 9th grade. Like, which one would you like to do? I said, well, I want to talk to kids. Like, if I'm going to reach anybody about innate intelligence and about chiropractic, why not reach kids so that they can get that in their heads early and understand what chiropractic may be early for the rest of their lives. And so I had the opportunity to put together my talk, which was entitled Dr. U, Understanding Your Very Own Superpower. And that was the spin I put on innate intelligence, that it's a superpower that we all have, and went through the talk, which was, again, absolutely terrifying. I've never done anything scarier in my entire life. But we did it. And then I think when your passion is bigger than your fear, when your purpose is bigger than your fear, you're going to push through things. And so we got out there and we did it. And talking to the kids afterwards, it was actually the best experience of that talk. Because I had kids coming up to me, and I had this little quiz for them. It was 10 questions on what is chiropractic, innate intelligence, and subluxation, and how the nervous system and stuff. And these kids were nailing these questions, and I just felt so happy about the future of these kids and their health and chiropractic, knowing that we were be able to reach them. So that's how that opportunity came to be. Was I was out in the community, meeting people, kind of like I do as much as I can.
Well, what an awesome thing to get to do and to be asked to do, and what a great audience to really dip your toes in the pool and see how you do and be tested in front of those kids. Hopefully they'd be pretty forgiving if you would have dropped the ball, but I did watch that TED Talk and you did not drop the ball. You look like you've done it 100 times, so very nicely done.
Oh, thank you. Probably you can't feel how close I was to throwing up the entire time. So.
Well, we had no idea. You fooled us.
Oh, that's good. Good editing.
Let's talk just briefly about your mentors. You mentioned Amped, and there's also Black Diamond. Tell us real quickly about those folks and what they've done for you.
Absolutely. I've been blessed to have incredible mentors my entire life. I'm a big believer that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And I have always made it a point to put myself around people that were more successful than I, or smarter than I, or anything. My dad has a lot of quotes, but one of them was, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I'd always try to put myself around people. And when I was at Parker and had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Michael Viscarelli and Dr. Jeremy Hess of AMPed, which then led me to meet Dr. Eric Brower and Dr. Kowalski and Dr. Sims and Dr. Jason and Shay, the Revolution Chiropractic Dallas. So many people, they started helping me in incredible ways learn how to open a practice. That was the biggest thing I didn't know how to do. It was how to open. And so through AMP Club, we started a club on campus, and we practiced doing day ones, and we practiced doing day twos, and we practiced, screening, or we practiced how to bill, how to code, how to do these things. You need to know how to open a practice. And that mentorship is the reason that I was able to open as successfully as I was. AMP in particular has a program called the Jumpstart program, which is geared at students graduating who want to open their own practice, and like a 90, 60, 30 days out checklist. Here's what you need to be doing at this point. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do this along the way, because that's the biggest thing for, I think, anybody in school right now is just, I don't know what I even need to do. I wouldn't even know where to start to open a practice. And that's the case with a lot of people. And so Jumpstart program was huge for that. And I will always be indebted to them for that. Where Black Diamond Club came in, Dr. Sean Dill runs that, and a number of my close friends at Parker got me introduced and really kind of led me into that, which is focused a lot more on marketing down that side of it, and identifying who you're trying to reach, which the combo of the two has made me who I am. And why I am the way I am. The biggest thing that I've always taken away from Dr. Dill and Black Diamond Club was that identify who it is you resonate with the best. Who is your ideal patient? Who is the person that you connect with the best? It's not just everybody. Yes, everybody needs chiropractic, absolutely, but who do you want to speak to the most? And that was, I really had to think about that. I'd never really thought, I was going to open an office and help people, but who do I resonate with? And so it took a lot of reflecting, honestly. And, I realized that my ideal patient is in a lot of ways me. I love connecting with young, business-minded or entrepreneurial, young professionals, specifically guys that like to, snowboard or wakeboard or dirt bike, action sports. I used to skateboard and do all these things, and people who, maybe want to go out and have a drink on the weekend or something fun, and just that, I guess, type of person, that's who I resonate with, and that's kind of who I wanted to build my practice for. I got that from Dr. Dill and from Black Diamond Club, and it was so influential in the practice, in what type of practice I opened. It's the reason that we have the environment that we do. It's the reason that I wear jeans and a t-shirt and boots to adjust. It's the reason I go to, I sponsor skate competitions, and the things I go to a lot in town now are more geared towards that. My social media is a reflection of that because it's what I do. And so those types of people see me, or they see my practice and see my social media and say, I like that guy. I don't know that guy, but I like those things. I like snowboarding. That looks, if I'm going to go to a chiropractor, I feel like I'm going to get along with this guy. And those are the type of people that I'm getting in from social media, for example, right now, where they're walking through the doors, and sometimes the running joke in practice, sometimes we've had a lot of guys that like almost look like me when they walk in. I got the beard and the thick glasses and the swoopy hair and hipster hair. And we have people come in, and I have like doppelgangers come in. But I tell you what, those are my favorite people in practice. I love those guys when they come in, or I love their families, their wife, little kids. I love those young families. That's my people. I love helping everybody, but those are my people. And so it's been Black Diamond Club has really pushed me to build this practice of people that I resonate really closely with. And it's helped me be successful in defining that. So that's Dr. Dill, along with a lot of other things, and all the members of that group and a lot of my good friends that are a part of that as well. And so I've had a lot of different influences in a lot of different places, and I think they've all made me to be who I am. And I love who I am. I love the practice we have.
Well, I had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Dill a few months back. So Mojo Nation listeners, if you have not yet listened to that episode, I highly I can't even talk. That's what happens when I get to the end of the day. It all just becomes a jumble, especially when I get excited. But he's got so much stuff that he talks about in that interview, marketing nuggets that he drops, little bombs, things that I think that you would find very useful in your practice, very marketable ways that you can get yourself out there. So go back and check out that interview when you have time. And, it has been so great talking with you so far today, Dr. Bones. We are almost finished, but before we let you go, we just have a couple other things we want to get to. Do you have a favorite single book that you would recommend to our listeners?
Hands down, second to none, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
That book, I don't say a lot of things changed my life. That book changed my life. It completely changed the way I approached every single interaction with a person, whether it be a report of findings or a new patient exam or just somebody I meet at a networking event or on the street or going into a meeting. That book is literally on my mind every single time I want to make a good impression. And if you haven't read it, it is a really, really old book that has stood the test of time and is just timeless now in educating just how to understand, read, and connect with people, which I think is the hands down the most important thing you can know in life.
Absolutely. I mean, we are a people business, and even if we were not in the business of people, we're going to work with people.
Right.
It's just part of our lives. And first published in 1936, sold over 30 million copies. So great recommendation. And one of the things that I was blown away by when I read it was it is every bit as relevant today as it was.
Absolutely. So.
Well, I will link to that in our show notes in case people want to check that out. There are some free PDF copies that are out there online as well for people who want to check it out. But it's a great book if you want to pick it up. What is the best business advice? I know you've gotten a lot, but if you could give us just one really good piece of business advice that you've been told that you would want to share with our listeners.
A lot of different advice from a lot of different people, but I think the one that I've kind of really hung my hat on and has resonated with me the most is be authentically you. And I know it's so short and it's so sweet, but when you are authentically yourself, you will attract the people that are right for you. You will naturally repel people that aren't, and you will find yourself at the end of the day so much happier with who you are and what you're doing than if you try to be anything other than yourself. And so that applies to practice. That applies to decor in your practice, your office, who you are in the community, social media, literally everything. But be authentically you and be unapologetically authentically you. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Well, you mentioned your Facebook page. What's the other ways that people can find out about you, your TED Talks, more about you, your practice, and whatever they want to know?
All right. Well, absolutely. Facebook is always there. Beyond Bones Chiropractic, or add me personally, Ryan Bones. I'd love to connect with people. On Instagram, we are Beyond_Bones. Beyond_Bones is the Instagram, which a lot of other great stuff on there. If you want to shoot me an email, you can email me, drbbones@gobeyondbones.com. I'd be happy to ask any questions, or shoot me a message on Facebook. If you want to watch the TED Talk, just Google Ryan Bones TEDx, and it'll be the first one that pops up. The second one, which is actually titled Millennovation, and will be about it's about millennials and our entrepreneurial spirit. That is going to be out as soon as TEDx, I guess, approves it and releases it, hopefully really soon. And that one will be out soon. But other than that, you can always reach out to me. Facebook is a great way to get a hold of me.
Well, time is our most finite resource, and I really thank you for spending some of your valuable time with us and our listeners here today. Best of luck to you. Continued success, Dr. Ryan Bones, and I hope we get to talk at some point down the road.
Thank you so much for having me on, Dr. Day. And Mojo Nation, thank you so much for listening. It was an honor and a privilege to be on.
Thanks for listening to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast at www.chirobusinessmojo.com.